We're live.
Good morning. This is a meeting of the House Judiciary Committee. It's in the morning, 9:37 on the 18th of March, 2022. There are 4 bills that are on a voting list. However, we are not going to be taking any votes this morning. We'll defer any voting on these until either after the morning session, which is about to begin at 10 o'clock, or after the evening session tonight. My inclination would be to have something in between the morning and afternoon sessions. The one bill that we have not seen a focus on that I wanted to call the committee's attention to is one where the Speaker's Office, this is House Bill 1021. The Speaker's Office has been in negotiations with the licensed firearm dealers. This is her bill related to security requirements for gun stores. It pretty significantly changes the bill in a couple places, and I wanted to quickly run through it, but I wanted to commend it to you to look at here as we are on and off the floor a little bit. I may have some time on the floor. I commend you to look at it. The substantive changes to the bill that I'll point to that came from discussions with the firearms dealers. It takes out the criminal penalty. It replaces it with basically 3 strikes. The first violation would be $1,000 fine. The second effectively conviction, if you're found in violation a second time, their license would be suspended for a period of time. And then on the third violation, they would lose their license to sell firearms. The idea being moving away from the criminal penalty, address some of their concerns that a violation would then limit their rights altogether to be able to possess firearms. And so we sought to address that with that. One of the other issues that came up was the business's ability. One of the questions came, so I have a room full of long guns in my business. Do I need to pack up all of the long guns and put them into a safe inside my already safe building? And so the bill, we've changed the bill to make it clear that if the firearms are in a building that meets the requirements established under the bill, if the room itself is sufficient with the sufficient security equipment, including equipment capable of filming and recording where the firearms are stored, and at least one of the following security items, including bars, security screens, commercial grade metal doors, grates, or other physical barriers approved by the Secretary. The bill, as amended, also would allow the Secretary for the State Police to promulgate rules and regs to determine whether a licensed dealer has met the requirements or not under this section. Again, that is a quick run through of it. Obviously, we're 10 minutes or 20 minutes before the floor here, so I'm happy to take questions if you have them. But I will say that I think the Speaker's Office, the reason that it's coming to us a little bit late is the Speaker's Office has been having conversations with them to try and work out something that's a little more amenable. So that is that. Delegate Bartlett.
One quick question. When you started, I missed some of what you said about the removing the guns from if they're already stored. Could you is that at 5-145-.1? Is that section?
It's in 145 number A2. And the idea would, under the original bill, as it said, outside business hours, the licensed dealer locks all firearms stored in a vault, safe, or a secure room. The idea and the question that was raised during the hearing was, okay, well, my whole business is a secure room. do I have to then build a secure room within my secure room in order to store the guns? And so what we changed a secure room to is or a building that meets the requirements under paragraph 1 of that section.
Okay.
And in paragraph 1, it talks about a building that would have the video recording and bars, security screens, or other items to ensure the security. So if that room itself had those characteristics, that they wouldn't have to pack everything up and put it into another secure room.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. I'm sure there will be more questions later, and that's also fine. I wanted just to kind of get this out there so that people had the opportunity to look at it, given that it has moved relatively quickly and it's the speaker's bill. So I'll suspend on that one and just touch on the other bills that are on this voting list so that people can get across and get to the floor. House Bill 104, if committee remembers, this is Chair Atterbury's bill on child custody and visitation. There was a lot of testimony related to the first half of this bill, where people, generally speaking, were okay with the first half of the bill. There was controversy regarding the second half of the bill, where there was a lot of back and forth regarding that. When we come back to vote in the afternoon, it's likely that there'll be an amendment to remove the second part of that, of the legislation, and just go forward with the first part. Again, we're holding all of these until the next vote session. So we're gonna give people the chance to read them. And if you want amendments, you should consider drafting those amendments quickly. So anyway, going back to 104, I believe that there was consensus effectively on the first half of the bill and not the second half. I would, I guess, encourage the committee to take a look at 104, and you'll see what I'm talking about there. And then you'll be ready for the afternoon. House Bill 863, we do not have the amendments for that yet. I'm just putting it there to put people on notice that they appear to have an agreement between the state's attorneys and the public defenders on that bill, but I'm just kind of giving people fair warning that that may be out there. And then Delegate Moon's bill on House Bill 244. There are no amendments for that one. I just was going to move that anyway. And so fair warning that that is coming up for a voting session in between sessions today.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So on House Bill 104, the child custody or visitation for people with some evidence of abuse, is the thinking that we would move it as we moved it last time, or that we would try and move the part that folks agreed to?
I think the idea would be, I mean, and we can discuss it at the voting session. I think the idea would be that we'd move the part that there seems to be consensus on to move.
That would be my preference if there's if it's up for discussion.
I think that's the direction that's certainly in my head, but I wanted to at least give people the opportunity. Certainly other things going on the floor too, but we all know that we may have a little bit of time to think about some of these stuff, as some of this is, you're sitting there. So I just wanted to encourage people to think about that. All right. I have sprung a fair amount on you, but I wanted to at least bring these bills forward. I'm holding all of them effectively for a voting session after the initial morning session. Delegate Cardin.
Mr. Chair, just I know I was about 4 minutes late. I just want to make sure there wasn't any votes before we started talking.
There were no votes.
Okay, good.
No votes. No votes. Delegate Arikan.
Yeah, thanks. So HB 104, wasn't there another bill that kind of went with this? I think maybe Delegate Fisher was the sponsor of it this year, but it came with this. What's the story on that?
It arose from the same work group as the judicial training bill.
Oh yeah, that's
Delegate Fisher's bill, right?
Yeah, is
that
that, is that
bill-
one moving too with this?
It's
bill?
coming from the Senate, so we'll deal with that bill after it. We've got it from the Senate, so we'll deal with that bill after crossover.
Okay.
All right,
Mr. Chair, I had a technical question.
yes.
When you catch bills from the Senate, and maybe just because COVID, I feel my brain's just been emptied. When you catch bills from the Senate, even though it's after crossover, do you also pass the House version with it to send it back?
It
Or
would
you
be my
only
intent
move the-
it would be my intent to move both. Obviously, the House bill ends up in Senate rules. Generally speaking, those bills move, but they have to get them out of rules to keep them moving. Usually, even in our past, between our committee and judicial proceedings, there's the at least some courtesy to allow cross files.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. I think that's it for right now. My intention, again, would be to have a voting session prior to any evening session tonight. Please, if in particular, if you're looking at amendments for 1021, make sure that they are amendments to the amended bill, which has the amendment number on top that we've sent to everybody. So please, it is an amendment to an amendment, which the amendment office isn't going to like terribly much, but let me.
And Chair, I've just for our purposes, I did tell the amendment office, so they're going to have that reprint, but just members that request, please remind them that draft to the amendment. So it makes
Draft to
sense.
the amendment, please, because it's a pretty substantial amendment. All right, with that, we'll stop right here and we will go to the floor. So thank you all very much. It's been the House Judiciary Committee, and we will see you after the first session.